Hello world, it's Niall Horan and I will be hanging out all day today co-hosting the iHeartRadio countdown from the 20th biggest song all the way down to the number one song in the country. Thank you so much for having me back, Romeo, bud.
We have been holding a spot for you, dude. We love everything you've been releasing as a solo artist and of course all the stuff you did with 1D, so we're excited you can join us. Now I know you had a super busy week. While most of us were enjoying Memorial Day off, you were actually up and at it, man, bright and early on the Today Show. Is it more challenging for you to sing and perform real early in the morning like that?
Yeah, big time. The last 3 or 4 days I've been singing really early, whether it be on radio or on the Today Show, but it was really fun. I was in the shower at like 4:30 a.m. trying to steam out the old throat and then sound check at like 6:30, so it's been a hectic week, but it was really fun.
So that's your trick, the steam shower, get you good and go?
Yeah, steam shower is the only way.
Well, you took the time out of your day to join us, so we appreciate that. You want to handle the first song of the day?
Number 20, kicking off the iHeartRadio countdown, it's Martin Garrix and Dua Lipa with Scared to Be Lonely.
That's Miley Cyrus at number 19 with her first single in 3 years. That's Malibu. I'm Romeo, your host of the iHeartRadio Countdown, and we've got a special guest with us today. Mr. Niall Horan is over there. Now, you are a man of many talents, Niall. Obviously, you're an incredible singer and performer, but you're also quite the athlete, we hear. You play as much golf as possible. How good would you say you've become?
So over the last year I've become fairly decent at it. Yeah, it's the kind of sport that you have to be playing all the time to get anyway really, really good. But I think I'm good enough for where I would like to be. I play off 9, which is single figures, which is good enough for me, I guess.
And I know you're also a bit of a soccer player, and you actually got to play that charity game last year with some of the best players in the world. How much pressure was that, actually being out on the field with the best of the best?
Yeah, it was fun, but it was intense. It was more intense because the crowd, there was like 70,000-80,000 people at Old Trafford where Manchester United play.
Awesome.
So that was hard.
Hanging out with Niall Horan this morning on the iHeartRadio Countdown. We're just getting started. Coming in at number 18 this week, Linkin Park and Kiara.
iHeartRadio Countdown. More coming up.
What up, iHeartRadio? Turn up.
This is the countdown that you control. Let's go. The iHeartRadio Countdown.
Thanks for making the time to hang with me as I help count down the week's hottest tracks in the iHeartRadio Countdown today. I'm your guest host, Niall Horan. We're just getting started.
We are indeed. We've got tons of great music to get to. In fact, right now, I want to talk about one of your songs, Niall. Your debut solo single, This Town. Were you anxious about putting out your very first song as a solo artist, or were you more anxious to just get something out there?
Yeah, I was more anxious to get something out there, and I think that's why when This Town did well, I was a bit shocked by it, because when I released that song, I just wanted to let people know that I was actually doing something. So it was more, I was just more anxious to get it out there, to be honest.
Is it just the way it happened that you released the first solo song out of all of the guys in 1D? Was that a conscious decision, or did it just kind of happen that way?
Yeah, I felt like I hadn't, spoke to the world at all for a while, so I was just like, release something. Yeah, so that's why I just kind of tweeted the link and told people that I was doing a song. There's no thinking behind it, really.
Well, it made it all the way to number 1 on this countdown, our iHeartRadio Countdown. We got to play it again. Our guest host this weekend, Niall Horan, This Town. 17 on the iHeartRadio Countdown for the first weekend of June. That's Mr. Jason Derulo with Swala. I'm your host, Romeo, and joining me for conversation and to help me co-host is the extraordinarily talented Niall Horan. And now we want to talk about your beginnings in music now. You were cast as a lead role in a musical as a kid, is that right?
Yeah, I played Oliver as a kid in school when I was like 7 or 8. And I guess that was the first time where I thought I could maybe do music and try and do it properly, but I was only 8 years old, so I didn't really know much, but I just felt like that was the first time where I thought I could do it.
Do you remember if you were nervous getting on stage when you were 8, or was that something you were just super comfortable with right away?
Yeah, you're obviously nervous, but at the same time you're 8 years old and you don't really have any cares in the world.
Right.
You just get out there and do it.
So let's keep that theme going. Could you see yourself doing any musicals at some point again in your career?
I would never say no, but not right now. I'm busy at the minute, but yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I like that kind of thing.
Niall Horan, our guest host this weekend. The new song is Slow Hands. We're going to play that one in just a bit. But first, you want to take care of number 16?
Indeed. It's Lady Gaga landing in at number 16 on the iHeartRadio Countdown. It's The Cure.
15 with There's Nothing Holding Me Back. It's Romeo with you, and I got one of the hottest artists on the planet right now, Niall Horan, in the co-host chair. What artist on the radio right now are you feeling, Niall?
Well, obviously, back in my own lads, so all of our boys. And then I'm obviously good friends with Shawn Mendes, so I love his new song, holding me back. Big fan of The Weeknd, bits and pieces here and there. Ed, obviously. So yeah.
Is there anyone out there that you'd like to hit the studio with, maybe do a collaboration with?
I'm up for it. I'm always up for anything, to be honest. I don't really have anyone in particular, but
awesome.
I definitely think there should be more of the old collabing thing in our world.
I love that. This guy is the king of collabos. Up next at number 14, Drake making a 3-step leap from last week with Passion Fruit.
That was my good friend Harold Styles there with Sign of the Times, up one spot from last week on the iHeartRadio Countdown. I'm Niall Horan, helping Romeo co-host the Countdown.
Very psyched you came here to hang now. We can't thank you enough. Let's talk about your songwriting process. How do you typically begin a song? Does it start with guitar, the lyrics? Do you kind of hum a melody?
It's a bit, to be honest, it's probably a mix of all three of them. It depends on the situation. Slow Hands was written kind of just in the studio. I was just sat down at the piano, I started playing that opening bass line, which is obviously now played as a bit on a bass guitar, but it was on piano. And then other songs, like my favourite song on the album, I did it while I was watching TV. I was just playing the guitar, recorded a voice note on my phone, and kind of went back to it a couple of days later. It can happen different ways, at different times.
What's more rewarding for you, when you write a good song or when you actually get to perform it in front of a crowd?
When you write a good song and you leave the studio, you're like, oh, I think that was a good one. And then there's nothing better than when you get to perform it and then you hear people sing it back to you.
Yeah.
There's nothing more special, really. It's a hard one to describe unless you've done it.
Well, we got Niall Horan locked in here in the studio with us for more conversation as we get to number 1 on the iHeartRadio Countdown. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The iHeartRadio.
Our buddy Niall Horan today. Really quickly, you've got some pretty serious chops on the acoustic guitar, Niall. If you could master any other instrument, which one would you pick?
I love the idea of being able to play the piano. I have an ear, obviously a musical ear, so I can hear notes, and I kind of I go up to the piano and just kind of press notes and make my own chords. I don't know if they exist. I'm sure they don't, but
it's your own language.
That's my goal, is to learn how to play the piano in the next year or so.
Time to get into some Halsey right now. She actually just dropped her new album, Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, on Friday. She managed to hold on to the 12th spot for the second week running with Now or Never.
Yeah, 100%. This is the number 1 in countries all over the world in sales, including the States. It's by Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee, and my good mate Justin Bieber. This is Despacito.
Radio Countdown. Yeah. More coming up.
KDZA-FM, HD2, Pueblo.
The iHeartRadio Countdown.
Hey, it's Romeo here. We've managed to knock down the first half of the iHeartRadio Countdown, but things are only heating up from here. In the studio with me is a guy who's already accomplished so much in his career. Niall Horan is over there. One thing we can't wait to get from you is a full-length album, Niall, but you haven't announced a release date yet. Can you give us an idea where you're at with it?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously going to be busy all summer now with the Slow Hands and going all over the place, performing on TV shows and radio shows and stuff like that. So I'm pretty busy for the summer, and then probably I'm hoping somewhere in the fall or something like that would be nice.
Who do you look to for their opinion whenever you have new music? Like who's the first person you want to send the new song to?
Well, which is good actually. My cousin and I live together, so he'll come in from work or whatever. I come back from the studio and I'll play something to him because he's got a good ear.
Niall Horan is our guest host this weekend on the iHeartRadio Countdown. Time for some more music. Cracking the top 10 wide open. Ed Sheeran with Castle. Where you were and what you were doing the first time you heard one of your solo songs on the radio, Niall?
Yeah, it was in a hotel in I was in Minneapolis at the Ryder Cup, which is a golf tournament.
Yeah.
And I was doing some radio promo on the phone, and Ryan Seacrest played the song for the first time, so I was on the phone to him.
Yeah.
And I was just standing in the room practicing my putting. I think there's a photo of me practicing. So yeah, I think that was the first time I heard This Town on the radio.
Awesome. All right, we are up to number 7 on the iHeartRadio Countdown. You want to introduce this one now?
Yes, I will indeed. I think Mr. Sheeran's going to take care of number 7 with this year's best-selling song so far of the year. This is Shape of You.
The club isn't the best place.
Shoes holding steady at number 6 on the iHeartRadio Countdown. We've been hanging with Niall Horan all day, who's doing a mighty fine job co-hosting the show, by the way. So coming up next on the Countdown is a guy who, like Niall, got his start on the X Factor in the UK, James Arthur. Now, obviously, auditioning for that show changed your life, Niall. Was auditioning for the show something you were absolutely set on doing, or did someone kind of talk you into it?
I wanted to do it a year previous to that, and then I think they put the age up or something like that for application, and then it went back down, and I was hemming and hawing. I didn't really know what to do, and I think it was my French teacher at the time. I got along really well with her, and she was like, "You got to do it." So she forced me to to do it.
And have you seen her since?
Yeah, loads. Every time I go home, I go for a drink with her.
Love it. All right. James Arthur up next with Say You Won't Let Go, up 2 spots this weekend, the number 5 on the...
Down. More coming up.
How we looking? How we feeling?
Back to the iHeartRadio Countdown.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the iHeartRadio Countdown. It's me, Niall Horan, your guest host for the weekend with Romeo. I can almost see the number 1 song on the horizon, Romeo.
We are getting close, but I want to get into one of my favorite tracks to come out recently, and that would be one of yours. Your newest single, Slow Hands. Man, this song's got some funk to it. It's got some rock. It is insanely infectious. Tell us how the song came to be.
I was in I listened to a lot of that anyway, the early 80s classic rock funk kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was just playing the piano in the studio, and it just kind of happened. And then I didn't really I write all my concepts down on what I want to write about, and I just felt like what we were doing musically at the time didn't fit any of my love songs. I had all these stories written for, so we just kind of made up a story on the spot, and we just thought it sounded quite sexy musically, so we added all that sex to it afterwards.
Do you think this song is a good indication of what we can expect from the album and your next couple singles you release?
I would say that Slow Hands is probably the most out there song in terms of sound wise. I would say it's a good mix of just all the other influences I have. I wouldn't say Slow Hands is the best sound for the album, but overall, but it's kind of just a good mix of what I grew up on, really.
Awesome. All right, well, it is no doubt a future number 1 on this countdown. It's your song. You want to introduce it?
Yes, I'm Niall Horan. This is Slow Hands on the iHeartRadio Countdown.
Number 4, that's Bruno Mars, who held on to the number 1 spot for a while last month with That's What I Like. So Niall Horan is here, and since you're a songwriter and a performer, what do you think it takes to have a number 1 song these days? Is there a formula out there that people are perfecting?
I don't know. I'm going to have to text Mr. Sheeran and ask him. He seems to know what to do.
Yeah, Ed knows the formula.
He knows the formula. I don't know. It's just, I just tend to go, when I'm writing songs, I just tend to go off feel and what people around the room or people I played to feel like. If it was me, I wouldn't have picked Slow Hands as my single, and then I just kept playing it to people around, friends and family, and they were just like, oh no, this is the one. And I don't know, they just whatever. I heard Camila Cabello talking about this the other day, and she was just like, she was in the same rut, and she started playing it to her manager and her mom and stuff like that, and then she just felt like it was the right thing to do. So I don't know, there's no real formula, but actually there probably is, but I don't know the answer to that.
We'll call Ed. All right, the 3 most popular songs of the week are on the way. It's the iHeartRadio Countdown. Niall Horan's here. Hang on.
iHeartRadio.
And we've got Niall Horan in the studio with us today doing the co-hosting thing, and doing it mighty well, I might add. And I know you're a fan of one of the artists sharing the bill at number 1. In fact, I saw you tweeted how impressed you were by her SNL appearance in February, talking about Alessia Cara. What makes you such a fan of Alessia?
I don't know. I just love the way she just comes in out of under the radar and just gives us all a big hit every time.
Yeah, she really does.
Her voice is really sweet. And I remember before she was big, she did a few videos on YouTube or something like that. And I think my cousin he basically spends his time on YouTube, so he played me one of her covers or something on the internet. I just love the tone of her voice. She's really cool, and she's a really sweet girl, so yeah.
So it's safe to say that you would consider a duet with Alessia in the future?
Oh, 100%. Really
awesome. All right, well, let's get into it. The number 1 song of the week. Niall Horan is our guest host. You got the introduction.
Yeah, making a big move all the way to number 1. It's Alessia Cara and Zed with the biggest song of the week on the iHeartRadio Countdown. It's Stay.
1 song on the iHeartRadio Countdown for the very first time. Congrats to both of them for their rise to the top. Now, before we sign off, I just want to say thanks to Niall Horan for being on the show today. What is next, man? Are you still writing songs from the album? Are they all in the can? More promo? More touring?
Yeah, it's more promo at the minute. All the songs are in the can. I'm just kind of finishing off the promo, and then I'll be hopefully releasing the album towards the end of the year, in the fall sometime, I'd imagine.
Awesome. We love Slow Hands, man. No doubt a future number 1. Thank you so much for being here today, friends. It's the iHeartRadio Countdown. Say bye, Niall.
Thank you, Romeo. See you soon.
iHeartRadio.